Does TF2 need class limits? Now, this is something I've been thinking about for a while, and if you look at something like, okay, please don't scream at me, but if you look at Overwatch, since the start of that game, they have only ever let you choose one of each hero on the team, and I remember so many people talking about whether or not TF2 needed class limits as well, and I feel as though this conversation has come back recently with the bots being a thing, and if there was a class limit, or maybe even one or two snipers, they would make fighting the bots just a little bit easier. Or at least finding them and kicking them would be easier. But before we get into that, I just want to let you guys know that like 65% of everybody watching this video right now isn't actually subscribed. And I haven't checked that percentage in a while, and it's gone back up. So please, get subscribing. Anyway, let's talk about whether or not TF2 needs class limits. So I decided to ask on Twitter what people thought about it, and surprisingly, a bunch of people said they would actually like class limits to be a thing, which I did not expect at all. I thought it was going to be a very much resounding no, and that people thought this was a really dumb idea. I genuinely thought people would just shut me down for even considering the fact that this would be something that could be done. But it turns out a lot of people really want them. Obviously not everybody, but a lot more people than I thought seem to want to have class limits put in place. And there's good reasons for and against having class limits, and that's mainly what I want to focus on today, and then you guys can leave your opinions in the comments below as well. So, there are some good reasons, like I said, as to why people would like class limits, so we'll start with them. I think the main one is that if there were class limits, you wouldn't be able to have something like 3 spies, 3 snipers, and 6 engineers or something like that. And doing that would make certain maps a lot nicer to play. For example, Upward, the last point. If you have a team that just goes engineer, the enemy team can't do anything to push into that last point, and it becomes a really, really boring game and really frustrating for most of the people involved. And to be honest, I can't even imagine that would be that fun for the engineers playing either. Like, that just sounds so boring if there's 5 of you doing the same thing. So having class limits will stop stuff like that from happening and make a lot of the stalemating maps a lot easier to play and less annoying for whatever team is pushing into a bunch of NGs. In that case, I do see how class limits would be something that is quite useful and would potentially benefit the game in a good way. Maybe maps like Powerhouse as well won't have just massive NG farms on the last point, so you can actually push in and do something about it. And the enemy's team as well needs to work out a defense that will actually work without having like 20 engineers. I think it could make people better players, but I don't know if people would really want to have to do that. Another thing would be that there would be less people who are able to play Sniper, so bots might not even be able to pick Sniper to start with, or if they pick Sniper and cheat and they add like a class icon on the kick menu, it would be really easy to find the cheater and get them kicked. That kind of thing as well would work, but I really don't like the idea of making a change as big as class limits into the game just for a problem that should have been fixed a year ago and still hasn't been really addressed at all. So maybe pushing that idea too much isn't a great idea, but the fact that it would make a lot of maps easier to play, I can understand the appeal of that. My opinion is kind of that most of us play casual mode, right? And I feel as though having class limits in place would make this casual matchmaking feel way more serious and way more competitive. And honestly, I don't feel like that's the kind of feeling a lot of people want to have while they're playing TF2 a lot of the time. Especially when they have picked the game mode called casual, so they can hope that they can do whatever they want. There shouldn't be too much pressure to play super seriously in casual, and having class limits will literally stop people from playing the class they want to play most of the time, especially snipers, especially spies, maybe even engineers, maybe even soldiers and scouts. Who knows, like it would be a massive issue. Or it could be really good for them. It would force people to play classes they don't normally play, and maybe they'll learn something about classes they don't normally play and they quite like about it. But how many people do you think are going to see that their favorite class is full and just leave the server and try and find a different one where they can play the class they want to play? You might end up with quite a few dead servers for that reason. Or in my case or something like that, if I needed certain footage of a specific thing, like if I wanted to play Sniper for a video because I wanted to talk about it or whatever, and people were just taking up all of the slots of the class I need on every server I went into, that would make my job a lot more annoying. And I feel like even without making footage or even without making videos or whatever, it's just annoying when your favorite class is taken, when you really just want to play that one class that day. Like you can join a server or you can wake up one day thinking, I really want to play that class, or you know, this map on this game would be perfect for me doing this thing, and then you can't do that because somebody's, you know, already taken your class and is like AFK somewhere. Another thing is, I think a lot of the wackiness of TF2 and a lot of the charm of TF2 comes from the fact that you can have no limits on what classes you can play. It's a very much TF2 thing to see 3 engineers on the last point. Even though it's really boring to play against, that is what makes TF2 TF2. In fact, even like me and the Mercs have made videos where we've all played one class and just seen what would happen in casual servers. That wouldn't be possible if there was class limits. That would make the content that we make a lot more limited some of the times. I've even been making videos where we literally, the entire server plays one class, and those videos are really fun. I wouldn't be able to do those if there was class limits. Obviously, I do them on a community server, but even so. The way I look at it is that it would take away a lot more from the game than it would actually add into the game, if that makes any sense. Like, sure, you can add more balanced matches, and some of the maps that a few people play won't be as stalemate anymore, but you take away the entire culture around 2-Fort by doing that. And I don't like 2-Fort that much, but I can appreciate the fact that that is where people go, and they all play sniper, they all play engineer, and that is just what happens there. Same with High Tower and everybody playing Trolldier. You wouldn't be able to do that if there was class limits in place that let only 2 or 3 people maybe play Soldier. So personally, for me, I don't think class limits are really the thing. I understand why they would be good for the game, I really do, but I think they would just take away way too much stuff that you can do in this game to actually feel worth it to me. And I don't even want to win most of the games I play. I don't care that much. I'm playing casual. And I kind of think the sentiment stays the same across a lot of the TF2 players. If you were playing something like competitive, I absolutely see why class limits would be essential. Even though I think maybe a competitive mode without weapon bans and without class limits would actually be something that would be quite funny. But class limits in a competitive sense makes a lot more sense than it does in a casual area. But anyway, that is going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please let me know by leaving a like on the video and also subscribing to the channel if you are new. I would really appreciate that. Also, let me know down below in the comments what you guys think of this. Do you want to see class limits in regular casual, or do you think they should just be destroyed, never thought of again, and that it was a stupid idea from the start? But yeah, anyway, like I said, thank you all so much for watching the video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all again tomorrow with another one. Goodbye.